Hey dudes, what's up? I'm over here. Hey, yeah, what's going on? This is your homework helper for the lesson 10 here. Actually, it's not really a homework helper because we've been doing the problem set, but that's what we're working on right now. So I wanted to talk to you quickly about the problem set. This is one I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on because I feel like this is something that you guys should be pretty solid with, but it's definitely nice to have just a little bit of an overview, especially if you're needing some help on your own. So that's what I'm going to offer you. What this is basically is I'm going to go ahead and focus the bulk of this lesson on what we were doing in class, which is visualizing the subtraction. Oh my gosh, that's like really bad. Visualizing the subtraction of tenths and hundredths and thousandths, and visualizing basically the regrouping is ultimately kind of the big takeaway. So here we go. That's definitely a little bit better. I'm going to impose myself on this here. I'm going to go ahead and make this. If you need to at home, you should definitely feel free easily to make yourself a place value chart. This table is very simple to draw. And when something like this, we're really only dealing with, we have tenths. There's 100 here, so depending on what you wanted to do, you could do that. I'm just going to go ahead and make mine. I definitely want hundredths, and I definitely want thousandths. So I'm going to put my thousandths here. I'm going to put my hundredths here, and I'm going to put my tenths here. And yes, we are doing decimals right now, but I also like to put it in fraction. And I'll do my ones here. Okay. And so what we're going to do is just take a look at maybe a handful of these, and then you should be on your way. But I kind of want to get to some of the basics. So when we're subtracting, we are taking away, right? We start with a quantity, we start with something, and we're taking something away from that, ultimately, is what we're doing here. In A, we have 5 tenths, and so I need to visualize that. I figure a good way to do that is by drawing our discs. So I have 5 tenths, so I'm going to just go, whoa, that's just going to be too big. Sorry there, buddy. You're just too large. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have 5 tenths. The scores are totally all different sizes, but that's the way that my pressure pad works here. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to try that one more time to get an even one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths, okay? And I want to subtract, I have to subtract, excuse you, 2 tenths. Oh my gosh. Subtract 2 tenths. We'll get this right one of these days. I apologize. 5 tenths, I want to subtract my 2 tenths. So this is pretty straightforward, but I'm going to come in, I'm just going to cross off 2 tenths. That leaves me with this one, and this one, which is 3 tenths. And if I would like to do that in a color that's easier to see, that would be awesome. And then I need to write that in a decimal form. So 3 tenths is also 3 tenths. Sound good? So this is all pretty, like I said, pretty straightforward, especially when you're taking away like numbers from like numbers, and especially when there's no regrouping. So let's look at something that might be a little more complex here. We have 37 thousandths. Okay, give me a color. Give me my discs. 37 thousandths. Well, I know that I have 7 in my thousandths place, so let's just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in my thousandths place, and I have how many in my hundredths place? That would be 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. And now I know that I need to subtract 16 of those thousandths. Okay, so 16. So I need to take away 6 from this one, right? 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do have enough. That leaves me with 1 left over. And I know that I need to take 1 away from this guy here. And see, I'm getting that 1 from right here. See, that's my 1. It's actually 16 thousandths is actually 1/100th and 6 thousandths. And so I'm taking that away from my 3 hundredths and 7 thousandths. So I took 1 away, which leaves me with these 2 guys here, which ultimately gives me this number. there's my decimal, or 21 thousandths. So 37 thousandths minus 15 thousandths equals 21 thousandths. And that makes sense to me. If I took 21 and I added 15, if I wanted to check that, that would definitely equal 37. And that would get me on to where I wanted to go. Down here, and up here, I think sometimes the thing that confuses you most is just the way that these are all written out. But we're saying how many thousandths is that total? That would be 21 thousandths. And that, of course, is the number that I just wrote there. So standard algorithm is pretty solid. It's pretty standard. There are moments where you get something like this, where you have let's say 148 thousandths, and I want to subtract 7/100ths. And the most important thing that you have to remember is to line them up. If you don't line them up, then you're not actually going to be subtracting tenths from tenths and hundredths from hundredths and thousandths from thousandths. And then you're going to end up with all of these numbers that doesn't make sense. You know, if I had, and I love talking about pizzas, and I know it's a cliche when you're a math teacher. If you have one big pizza and it's cut into 10 pieces, and if you can visualize that one piece that you have, that's 1/10, right? Well, if you're going to take away hundredths, you can't necessarily you have to have them be equal. I can't just take that piece apart and pull out 1/100th. I have to be having them on the same like playing field. You know what I mean? They have to be the same value. They have to be the same value, so you can take away certain quantities. And I hope that just did not totally ruin my reputation as a super awesome guy. But yeah, there you go. So anyways, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a 0 in there, and that way it kind of holds the place for me, and it makes it a little more understandable here. 8 minus 0, right? And so you can do that. This is math that you guys can do. Same thing here. I have 60 and 91/100ths, and I have 2 and 856 thousandths. Okay, and this is a great example of why it has to be lined up. If I did 6 0 9 1 and 2 8 5 6, and I did that, and there's my decimal, this wouldn't be right. I have 60 and I have 2. Well, I can't take this. If I just look at this right here, well, this is 60. This is worth 60, but this is only worth 2. And I can't do that. If I just straight up did that, I would get 4. But the correct answer, 60 minus 2, is really 58. So these have to be lined up. If they're not lined up, you are doing it wrong, buddy. And not only are you not going to get it correct, but you're not understanding the value of these numbers. So we're taking like numbers from like numbers, and that extends all the way out into infinity and beyond Buzz Lightyear. So here we go. Anyway, so I go ahead and I just put the 0 up there. So now I have 910 and 856 thousandths, and I can do that. I do have to borrow, and you're going to have to do that. But that's, like I said, these are things that students like you, who are in level 5, are definitely capable of doing. All right. So let's move downward then, and come with me. Place value chart. Thank you, place value chart. Just to take a look at some of these. Let's look at Mrs. Fan, whoever that is. Mrs. Fan. I want my pencil. Thank you. Mrs. Fan wrote 5/10 minus 3/100ths on the board. Okay, and Michael, good job, Michael, said the answer is 2/10 because 5 minus 3 is 2. Is Michael correct? 5/10 minus 3/100ths. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'd like to put that into a visual model so I can see it. I know the answer in my head, but I'd like to see it. I have 5/10, so that's 5 here, 2, 3, 4. That's 5/10. And what we're subtracting is right here is minus this 3/100ths, and that's here. And so I need to take away 3/100ths, not 3/10. And so Michael's Michael, is Michael correct? The proper way to do this would be to cross off one of these and borrow it and take it over there, um, and turn it into something that I can use. So now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's regrouping. That's what I just did. That's some regrouping. And now I can go ahead and take away 3. But you can't subtract 3/100ths from tenths and get a correct answer. Okay. So anyways, this try to keep that in mind. Try to keep that table in mind. It is going to be helpful and important for you to understand and keep things in the correct place value, both mentally and to help you with these problems. And I think you got it. But if you have questions, of course, come to class with them, and don't be afraid to, Google if what I just talked about doesn't make sense to you. Don't be afraid to check around and see what else you can find out there. And because sometimes I confuse myself. So do a great job, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.